Thanks for making this, bro.
Hey, it's an honor to be here, brother.
What we got here?
I brought you some goodies.
You explain it to me.
Yeah, just, this is Cymbiotika. We're the most advanced trailblazing brand in the space for the last 5-6 years. Just doing everything with intention. This isn't a race to the bottom. This isn't bro science. This isn't bullshit supplementation. This is taking clinical science and turning them into the most bioavailable form with the highest level of sourcing, literally going everywhere in the world to find the raw materials. So I just brought you a combination. This is sitting in our liposomal vitamin C box, but I brought you some liposomal vitamin C that's got a bunch of other goodies in there. I brought you our golden mine, which is a healthy nootropic, not something that makes you all crazy. And I brought you our molecular hydrogen. We can actually take one of the molecular hydrogens, pop it out. Are you familiar with molecular hydrogen?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Let me tell you if I'm right.
Yep.
It's almost like taking hydrogen water.
Mm-hmm. Well, it is. It turns this into a high concentrated hydrogen water. And this is 12 parts per million,
Boom.
which is the strongest molecular hydrogen we have to date right now. There's no machine that can do that. Usually those are around 1 to 2 parts per million. So hydrogen is the smallest element on the periodic table. It's the first element. It's the most abundant element out there. It's in everything, and we've learned that high concentrations of hydrogen can neutralize many free radicals in the human body. And one of the main free radicals in the human body that causes cellular degeneration and breakdown of cognitive ability and sexual function and hormones is called hydroxyl. Hydroxyl acts like a whirling dervish, just destroying everything. It's part of the cycle of being human. You're born, you get strong, fit, and then you slowly start to decay. And that's just part of this, whatever dimension we're in, whatever you want to call this. That's just how the cycle of life works. This neutralizes that harmful free radical at the subcellular level before it can do any damage. And there's over 1,100 case studies on it. I have every athlete I work with, all the couple world number one athletes on it. I've been on it for 10, 15 years as part of my regiment. What's happening right now? It's an effervescent tablet, and it's expanding in there, and the hydrogen is just getting more and more compact. And when that's done, we're going to take it down. And it's something that you don't want to sip on slowly. You want to, you just want to pound it because it creates a big redox, which is how the body turns free radicals into balanced electrons instead of oxidizing into rust in the body.
Right on.
Yeah.
What do you think about the hydrogen machine? Like I have a Eco Water under my sink, and that's alkaline. That's hydrogen water, acid, and just regular water. Are you familiar with that machine?
I'm very familiar with it. It's better than drinking tap water, but at the end of the day, for me, it's still tap water because it's not going through a 12-stage system. It's pretty, I would say novice as far as it filtering, and I do not trust anything in the municipal tap water.
I'm with you there.
Yeah, so I'm a spring water guy.
Right.
So I've been hunting springs since I was 7 or 8 years old, going around the world finding springs. It's part of there's an energy to that, where's the best spring water on earth, and it's almost like a rite of passage. So I've followed the philosophies of Dr. Rudolf Steiner and Victor Schauberger, and Victor Schauberger in particular was a big proponent of spring water and explained how spring water is actually alive. And it's structured, and it's got electricity in it. This is way beyond alkalinity or acidity. And that's the water I've been drinking pretty much my whole life.
Where do you get that water?
I get my water right now from Mount Shasta and from a spring in Idaho called Rising Spring. And I also get it from Palomar Mountain down in North County, San Diego. So if you're in the LA, Orange County, San Diego area, Southern California, I would say Palomar water is your best bet. If you're in LA and you can go to shop at places like Air One or something, Air One white labels, don't get angry with me, Air One, white labels the Castle Rock water from Mount Shasta. And that's got the lowest TDS water. TDS stands for total dissolved solids. You don't want something that's got a lot of material in there because that stuff accumulates in your joints. It gets into the brain matter. It gets into the arterial tissues, things of that nature. So you want really, really light spring water. And I also vortex it at my house. When you come to my house down in Laguna, you'll see it. I vortex my water, so it goes through a vortex, so it picks up and remembers how water is supposed to move. Water comes deep from aquifers, and it never moves in straight lines and edges. So we vortex it. We have it in copper. Copper has a unique energy, a subatomic charge. I add sea salt to it, depending on what time of the day it is, all those things. I have a whole non-negotiable tradition on how I approach, how I rise every day. And we can get into that because I think routine's really important.
It is important, and that's one thing that I believe a lot, like in terms of like diet and what you put in your body. Like it's been like for me in my journey, it's been like 10 years of looking at it, like what I can put in my body that only help me on being healthy and feeling good. Like I don't eat for pleasure. I eat for feeling. Like to me the taste doesn't matter. I eat a lot of organs. I try to stay away from anything at most times in a package. Like I just follow, right? So right after a fight, I give myself like 2 weeks of like here and there picking a cheeseburger, things that I haven't eat in the last 10, 12 months. Now it's like that time is past. So now I start a fast on a 3-day fast because I just did few cheat meals and I'm like, you know what? I really enjoyed it. It wasn't worth it. It was good, but not for me. It's almost more for with the people we're hanging out, having a good time. You know what? Now it's a good time for have a beer, have a burger. Today, I'm on a 15 hour, and when I get to 3 days, I get some bone broth.
I think you're on it, because we need to find some level of balance. Here, let's cheers, and then I'm going to respond to what you said.
I didn't want to let it go too long. I'm a professional pounder.
Yes, you are.
I can drink fast.
I think finding balance in your lifestyle is key, but you got to have some non-negotiables. And obviously, you've built this tradition on how you approach. Because leading up to a fight, I'm sure everything's very strict. Every calorie is counted and all that. Because you got to make weight and all that bullshit. So, having the things that bring satisfaction or maybe are nostalgic to you, meaning like you had as a child and those things, those are really powerful to have as long as it's not some crazy toxic shit.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like you can eat a cheeseburger, you can eat a lot of food, just where's the materials being sourced from? That's the thing. Like I'm not a vegan, I'm not a carnivore, I'm a qualitarian. Okay? I'm a self-proclaimed quality. It's being flexible with quality and really taking time to set the intention that I'm going to know that what I'm eating, I know where it's coming from. That's a beautiful act of self-love. I think a lot of what we're going to be talking about today, really when it comes down to it, is like how much practice of self-love do I want to implement every single day? And it's like we seem to be people are talking all over social media. You got to do this, you got to do that, you got to do that. But for what? To be received by others, to see that you know all the answers, that you look cool, that you look good, that it's aesthetics. No, what's your intention behind everything? And I think what I hear from you and why we've probably united in this life through our mutual friends and stuff is that you're living your life with intention, and that is really admirable. And I think that finely tuning certain things, you can really create a stable, balanced, extremely beautiful experiential life without taking yourself down the hole every time you want to experience something.
Right.
Enjoying is not synonymous with destroying. And that's an illusion that we have. And I think it's just the way that our society's been built around food systems and every other system out there for that matter.
That's the problem when we as humans, we systemize everything. We go online, this doctor says only meat and the rest is really bad and you will die if you don't listen to this guy. This guy ain't God. So you can't take that too serious. That's what you say about like full, how you call your diet?
Qualitarian.
That's, to me, that's how I live my life. I don't follow any diet. I take the best from the carnivore because there's a lot of good nutrients on meat, on organs, on the bones, on everything. I take it. Vegetables are good too. They don't harm me. I haven't felt harm just yet. So I eat vegetables when I crave them. Everything that comes from the ground is meant to be eaten, like fruit, the starch, the potatoes, the Japanese jams, all that. It's gonna help you. Avocados, all the good stuff. So to me, it's like if it comes from the ground and it's not processed at all and says raw or well cut, that gotta be good for me. So those are the things that for the last 10 years, and I've been eating and I feel good. I don't feel I'm inflamed. I don't feel I'm sluggish or foggy. I don't feel like, even if I work extremely hard because I love to train hard and I push myself to the limit all the time, I'm never dragging. And here and there, when I feel I'm getting to red light, I take a few days off, sit on the couch, go for a walk, stay barefoot, ground a little bit. The accumulation of all that, it will give you joy. And if you have joy in yourself, you can just move forward with grace.
I completely agree. And that's living your life present and with intention, and also knowing what works for you, right? Because you're trying things and you're experiencing things and you're like, hey, wait a second, this feels good, right? I'm going to keep going. I'm going to explore it more. You're using direct observation versus just hearing someone like on the internet telling you this or that. And I think what you said about this is going to kill you or this is the only way, that is a very polarizing energy to take. And a lot of people are just trying to get more views and more likes and trying to, sell themselves to the algorithm of what social media has become.
Right.
And if you're not really strong on a stance and you're more neutral, you're going to not get the same activation. The algorithm is supporting people telling you that broccoli is going to kill you or, whatever, some bullshit. Right. And so that you got to be very careful. So if you're listening to this, food systems that you're hearing online has almost become dogmatic. It's become like a religion. They all have isms behind them: veganism, carnivores, all these isms. Those are, fleeting paths. You need to find what works for you, and you need to find balance in that. And I think that's what you're doing, and that's why, you look good, you feel good, you're able to, perform a crazy sport that I don't know if people even understand what it takes to do that, the level of commitment, the recovery, all those things, the mental commitment, the emotional, spiritual commitment, all of those things are playing its part while we live in this chaotic, crazy world.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you're balancing so much other things with your lifestyle, your family, your relationships. So, if you don't have your food down and the water you're drinking, the basics, the way you're sleeping, all those things, then you're already behind the 8 ball. And that is why we're rushing and moving at a fast pace towards disease today. Disease has never been more prevalent. And it's unbelievable. I look at the data almost on a weekly basis. What we're seeing now across the board, not only with like really, really deep pathologies like metabolic diseases like cancer and diabetes and COPD and cardiovascular disease and all those things, but just all the autoimmune conditions. I don't even like the term autoimmune exactly. Autoimmune is a catchphrase. It just, the body is breaking down. It's not communicating with itself. It has a lack of communication. And when that happens, the immune system has no idea what it's doing. And then all of a sudden, a cascading event starts occurring. And it really starts in the lower gut and makes its way out all throughout the body. And that is because we are in a sick world. We're in the most toxic world. My cousin said something interesting to me about 10 years ago. He said detoxification might be more important than nutrition when it comes to the 21st century. Because
at this point.
Yeah, at this point. Because what is happening right now, and this isn't like some bullshit conspiracy carbon tax nonsense. We're talking about just a matter of toxicity in our world. The water is polluted. That's for sure. The ground is polluted. So what they're growing, their monocropping is not really food anymore. It's demineralized. The air is just getting destroyed. We have non-native electromagnetic frequencies everywhere now through 5G and Wi-Fi and all of this energy. We're around dirty electricity 24/7. We live in artificial boxes. We're around artificial light. We're in artificial temperature controlled. We're not even growing our food anymore. We're not even going to the store to get food anymore. It's now being like delivered to our doorstep.
One tax, you get groceries.
Right. And so there's a breakdown in the civilization faculty of humanity right now. And the new generations, right now the kids and like the teens and early 20s that grew up in this kind of internet world, they've not developed faculties that us that are a little bit older built while being, kids in the neighborhoods and moving and not on cell phones all day long and hunched over backs. I can go on and on. It's really crippling our evolution as a species, and we're really going backwards in so many ways.
It making the next generation just weak.
Completely weak.
And the problem with that is like, when they're kids and they don't know they're becoming weak, it's fine because they're kids. Mom, oh, you want a candy bar? Boom, candy bar gets home in 2 minutes. Oh, you want a banana? Boom. I like to go to the grocery shop because I like to see the fruit before I bought it. I like to, knock my watermelon. I like to see the bananas, because if you just pay on an app to have someone deliver your stuff, they just pick whatever they want.
And there's no empathy that's being built on the value of eating food anymore, which should be a tradition and ceremony. Now, I'm not saying
you don't gotta go deep and put candles and
right,
do the whole ceremony.
You can. I that's how we do it at my home.
No,
I'm not saying you have to be that extreme.
Right, but for the regular people to make the change, slow start.
Slow start.
Go get your food. Like even the energy that take you from getting up from your house, I know most of the time if I go with my kids, they're screaming, they're playing, but that's okay.
Yeah.
They get outside, they have to learn how to like behave there. But if you never do that, they won't grow up with the lesson or with experience, and then when they go out in the world, it's a fucked up world there.
It's a fucked up world, and they haven't built those faculties,
and they don't have that.
They don't have it, and they've taken it for granted. They don't have it, and when the world starts knocking on their head, they're not going to know what to do.
They're going to crumble,
and that's what we're seeing right now. We're actually in that. This isn't tomorrow. This isn't 10 years from now. It's now.
It's now. That iPad is not going to save your ass when you don't get a job, when you don't know how to hustle your way into places, or like have the personality to like go and shake a hand and be like, this is what I want, this is what I can bring to the table. Like that iPad is not going to do much for you.
That's right.
Like there's a few percent in there that from that iPad will, create a coin, or I don't fucking know, like do merch. That's it, the 1% that is going to, from that table, be like, you know what? I'm going to do it. Most of them are going to be like, oh, fuck, I'm 18, what now?
Yeah.
And
this is the real pandemic, in my opinion.
It is a pandemic.
It's a pandemic. It's a mental, spiritual pandemic, and then it's also a physiological pandemic as well, because we're not moving anymore. The sedentary lifestyle. Let me give you an example. If you take a lake or a pond that's been newly excavated or something, if it's not moving, it turns into a disease-filled algae pool, which becomes toxic and poisonous. Correct? Because there's no movement, there's no oxygen, there's no energy. Correct. And it's the same thing with the human body. If the human body energetically is sedentary, the body's own natural killer cells and all the sirtuin pathways, these are genome sequences that tell the body it's time to stay alive, doesn't want to be alive anymore. And that's the whole thing with hormesis, which is that which does not kill you makes you stronger. This is why we jump in cold rivers. This is why we go into extended, non-caloric fasting windows. This is why we go into really hot saunas. This is why we sprint. This is why we push ourselves to go into a state of survival. When you're going to a state of survival, and these are short survival stages. This isn't constantly dysregulated in stress. So that's the whole thing. We want short bursts of stress. The body feels it and then brings it back in and activates survival genes. But the problem is that most people are living in dysregulated low stress. Comfort, sedentary. They're on their phones. They're in 20 different realities on their social media in a span of 60 seconds. We're not designed for that. We're designed to be present, to be in our surroundings. We're supposed to be in a village somewhere. You know what I mean? Like we're seeing the trees, seeing these things. We're not supposed to be looking at 25 people's different lifestyles on an electronic radioactive device. That right there is not only is it destroying our physiology, but it's also not allowing the soul to fully incarnate and the purpose of that life to express. And now we're in that situation where people don't have any purpose right now, and they just want entertainment and escapism because they're terribly miserable at this point. Not to mention they're probably eating like shit. They might be on pharmaceutical drugs. They might be in a distorted family life. All these things. No wonder kids are resulting to doing wild, crazy shit to escape all that. They don't give a fuck. Right. There's nothing serving them in this life. They have no attachment to anything that's going to bring value. We need to be part of a solution to be part of humanity. Like everyone in the village has to have value on what their purpose is. And and stewardship. That's another main one. I learned that as a kid because I'm a Waldorf kid. I went to Steiner schools. I'm an anthroposophist, by the way. I'm not sure if you know what that is, but Dr. Rudolf Steiner created Waldorf education and biodynamic farming, and he also created a really interesting cosmology. This is what I was grown up with from my Persian roots and then through higher education. And he was able to, he's a clairvoyant, so he was able to really tap into a psychic phenomenon, and he realized if human beings aren't stewarding something, meaning taking care of something, taking care of family, taking care of the garden, taking care of whatever it is, then their self-worth and their internal like fire dwindles. We have to be of service. We have to be of value. That is the cornerstone of being a human being.
I mean, those are just facts. So that, I mean, sometimes I tell like other parents, I'm like, don't let your child know that you're listening, and just pay attention for like 10 minutes. Everything they're watching, those YouTube shorts or those videos they're watching daily, and in a 10-minute window, you will find out some fucked up stuff that you think they're on parental control, kids only, under 18. The bad message will still sleeping, and then that's like a seed. Wherever you put words gonna grow.
That's
but
right.
also it's the same thing with negativity. It's the same thing with eating wrong. Like if you put water into the wrong seed or the bad seed, it's gonna grow just as good as a good seed. So
Yeah, we're talking with my Persian brother offline right now, and he made some good points, which is usually where I start, because I'm approached all the time like, how do I go into a deep cellular detoxification? How do I remove the mold, the heavy metals, the parasite, the bacteria, the candida, all of the different, weird stuff, the preservatives, the pesticide, herbicide, fungicide, larvicide, insecticides. These are all here. It's been around us. If you've been in the domestic U.S. and other Western countries, how do I remove all that stuff from my bone marrow, from my brain, from my liver, from my kidneys? And I always say, kind of what he said too, is first, let's stop flooding our system with things that create binding, where the body's binding to these toxins. We have to do that first before we can go into like a deep chelation therapy or detoxification therapy. We really need to stop the damage flooding in. So how do we do that? Well, we get a water filter in our house. First things first. What you're bathing in is the number one way that most people are getting toxins in their body, even more than the food that they eat. So if you're bathing in municipal tap water and you're listening to me right now and you don't have a filter on your tap water, not only is that stuff getting into your body through the skin, but you're also breathing it in through the vapor. And the fastest way to get a drug or a poison or a toxin is through the alveoli, it's through the lungs. It gets straight into the blood. That's why, if you eat a cannabis brownie, it takes 4 hours. If you smoke a blunt, you're immediately high. It's just immediate, like upstream into your body. And the municipal tap water is filled with microtoxins. It's filled with heavy metals. It's filled with prescription drugs now. It's filled with something called trihalomethanes. It's just gnarly carcinogenics. We're not just talking about chlorine and fluoride and all those things that are present in there. It's just a loaded bath of toxins. So first and foremost, we want to get a shower filter and a robust shower filter. If you can get a home filtration system that's got an reverse osmosis and maybe like a 4-stage process, great. If you're in an apartment or a condo and you're not going to be there long, just get a shower filter and use that. Number one. Number two, what water are you drinking? We got to go back to the basics. It's the more hydration, the better water, the more displacement we're going to have of toxins. Number three from there, movement. So it's a lack of movement that doesn't allow the lymphatic system to operate. So the heart, it's more than just a pump, but we'll just use that as an example right now. The heart is actually so much deeper than a pump. It's an electrical toroidal field, and it generates so much power and energy. But the lymph nodes, it's kind of like how the veins and arteries work, but it's for our toxic load. And they come from the top of our brain, the lymph node, through the brain, down all the way to our feet, and they deposit out under our armpits, on our sweat glands. We breathe it out, all of those things. So in order to get the lymph going, we got to get the kidneys going. And how do you do that? Deep massage, movement, sweating, saunas, sprinting, high intensity interval training, jumping on a rebounder, the gyration of a rebounder. All of these things open up the system so it can expel things. If you're wearing deodorant and colognes and perfumes and toxic oils and sunblock, you're blocking your body's ability to expel those things. So you're basically turning yourself into a cocoon of toxicity, and at some point your body starts tapping out. So we got to really work on the movement and all that stuff. Another way is breath work. Okay, most people just associate breath work with calming the nervous system down, putting you into a parasympathetic state so you can relax, and then you can really declare your purpose in life and all the things, which it does that. I love breath work. But one of the most important aspects that people are missing is breath is a detoxification pathway. You're breathing out weird gases. You're breathing out things that go through your liver and your portal vein and into your bloodstream. It comes out of your lungs. That's why you can smell people that have like halitosis, like gnarly breath. That's not coming from the gingivitis in their mouth. That's coming from toxic loads in their liver and their gallbladder that's building up, and the body's just expelling it because it's about to spew in there and turn into a toxic poison. So deep diaphragmatic breath is a very important way to cleanse the body. Another important way is dry brushing, just moving the body, always constantly. I'm constantly brushing my skin. I'm always cleaning my skin and sandpapering my skin to a certain extent with either wool or copper. These are really important ways to get toxins out of the body. Another one is, activated charcoal. Activated charcoal it doesn't absorb things. It's an adsorber. Most people think charcoal absorbs things. No, it's the reverse of that. It's an adsorber. Activated charcoal is sequestered carbon. It's just, think of negative electrons, just negative electrons. And we want negative electrons in our body. It's just like grounding to the earth. And so when you take activated charcoal pulls all those toxins out and takes it with it. I love charcoal. Charcoal has been a staple to my reality. We spray it all over the farm. I take it all on a daily basis. Another one is niacin. Niacin is a B3 vitamin. I like the full flush form of niacin. I think a lot of people who are listening to this might remember niacin helps you pass a piss test or something if you've been smoking cannabis or something like that. Niacin causes your vessels and your capillaries, the cells, to basically inverse, and it scrapes off excrement and toxins, and that's the vasodilation. That's when you flush. And so there's a good strategy. You'll take start 50 milligrams, make your way up to 500 milligrams. When you can start handling the flush. So you take a little bit of niacin, you jump in the infrared sauna or ambient sauna, full heat sauna. You're in there, you go back and forth, and then take some charcoal after. That's a really easy, quick way to do a detoxification. Lemon. Lemon's a good way to really, break down a lot of the metabolites and heavy minerals that build up in the liver. And not just squeezing a lemon. You want the whole lemon, not just the rind too, the skin. It's really important. So you clean the lemon, blend that thing up, and I would say every 2-3 days, drink a full lemon or two with spring water. Another way is oral care. Okay, so root cause. This is so important. Everything swims downstream, right? So if your mouth is just a ruckus for a number of reasons, you're eating heavy starch foods and sugars, and you're just not taking care of your gum health. You don't have good oral hygiene. You're not using a water pick. You're not using ozone in your water, 2-3 times a week, which I do. You're not mineralizing. Then you're going to get rotting cavitations and a rotting gum, and that's going to breed bacteria and all kinds of stuff in there. And so if people have had their wisdom teeth pulled because it's some draconian dentistry bullshit, which no one should have their wisdom teeth pulled.
I have them.
You have your wisdom teeth in?
That's why I can take a good punch.
Okay, good. So that's really good because our teeth are all attached to certain meridians, and this whole yanking teeth thing is just the weirdest thing. And it's actually a dark practice in my opinion. If someone's like really it's impacted and it's rotting in there and it's what you got to yank it, that's one thing. But it has to be done with care and with a biodentist. And one of the top biodentists in the world is Dr. Valerie Cantor in Beverly Hills. And she and me and a bunch of our people in our organization, we really understand oral health. And you could be doing all the right things, but if your mouth is rotting with cavitations, you're just breeding bacteria, and you have root canals. which is necrotic tissue, that stuff's just swimming downstream, and you're constantly inflamed. You're constantly behind the eight ball, and your body's just like trying to fight all this thing. The whole thing with cleansing is we want to shut down all the wars that are happening in the body. That's the point of cleansing. When you pull down the burden, let's say you're at 100% burden, your immune system is now fighting 1,000 wars in a circle, and the line is being spread thin. As soon as you start bringing that burden down, let's say from 100 to 60% over a span of 90 days, then all of a sudden that line for the immune system gets to thicker, and you have a stronger resistance. You bring that down 60 to 40%, thicker and thicker. By the time you get to 5, 10, 15%, which is normal, happy and healthy, now you're going into next level. Another main thing for detoxification, which might be the main one actually, is fasting. Fasting, the ritual of fasting is tried and tested. It's the most studied. Caloric restriction is nothing can trump that. And the body cannot technically go through a process of self-cannibalization called autophagy unless you're in a fasted state. And think about it. Why do the Yogi Bhajans or the Taoist immortals or the ancient Babas, why were they eating one meal every 2-3 days, living to 150 in relatively good health? Mind you, they were in meditation, they were in all these things. It's because they weren't in an anabolic state for most of their life, where they weren't growing, profusely with muscle and all these things and eating 6, 7, 8 times a day. This way of eating, like our lives are revolved around eating food all the time, is such a sidebar to our purpose in life. And it actually is a problem for our entire health span. And I think it's one of the main reasons why we're leaving the health span going into the disease span early. I've been on roughly 1 to 2 meals a day for the last 10, 15 years. And for me, that works to perfection. And then I have bouts where, I'll go, I'm not going to eat for 4 or 5 days, or I'm not going to eat for 8, 9 days. I've done a 21-day water fast in Hawaii, where the food was the sunlight, the earthing, the ions, and literally after day 4 or 5, I never wanted to eat again, because my body was starting to cannibalize things that don't belong there. And that level of activation, not only is it ridding myself of a heavy payload of inflammation and heaviness and sorrowness and things that are trapped in there, because there's emotional ties to these things as well. It allowed me to literally clear and clean my slate. And if you look at animals in nature, if they're injured, if they're sick, they stop eating. They dig a hole and they lay in that hole and ground to the earth, and they stop eating. And this has been well researched, well studied. Nothing beats it. And now with the compounds that we're working on, and you can see it with, maybe Dr. David Sinclair's work with nicotinamide mononucleotide, NMN, which is a precursor to NAD, and other sirtuins and senolytic activators. They're trying to mimic what fasting does. That's what these compounds do. They want to mimic the activation of autophagy, which is shutting down the vessel and allowing the body to do what it needs to do to be able to clean house. And I think that's one of the main ways to detoxify.
And most people is like, when I try to explain them like why fasting is good, like I'm not deep on the research. I'm just a practitioner, and I goes like, okay, first things, think about like this: all the inflammation, all the bad things that you're going through, they're gonna leave you, because your body goes into like a panic attack of like, what's going on? Why there's not like a snack every 2 minutes? And then the first cells, because cells die, and people go like, oh, cells die, I'm gonna die too. I'm like, no, the first ones that die are the bad ones, the cancer ones, the one that will get you sick. Those will die first, and you don't have to start with a 3-4 day fast. You can just stop eating at 8 p.m. or 6 p.m. and then don't eat till the next day at the same time. That's the easiest way to start. And when you get ballsy enough to go a few more days, the only challenging night might be the first one for a beginner. After that, like you say, after day 2, I don't need food probably ever again. You're like, nothing looks good, I'm not hungry. Just, drink a lot of water, maybe some tea, and you just feel like, it's almost like when you're in a fast state, you just feel like superhuman.
Flow state. Yeah, we've gotten so accustomed, like by doing these things all the time, we become addicted to it. It's just a chemical, right? We're used to the dopamine hit and all the different things that occur with food and the idea of food. And the fact of turning the food off is such a monumental win for the human being and the soul.
Yep.
It's such a empowering thing because you're telling yourself that I can stop this addiction. And once you get on the other side of it, 24 hours, 36 hours, 48 hours, and all of a sudden the ghrelin hormone stops kicking in and the body starts to go back into it's like an equilibrium, then all of a sudden you're in the flow state. You're in the clear state. We take for granted how much energy is being used to eat food. It's incredible what
Never
happens.
stop working.
It
Because
never stops.
let's say you take a day off training, working, whatever you do, but then you eat 4, 6 times a day. The gut is a second brain, and this thing is working so hard to digest that you're not taking a day off. You just think you take a day off, but you're wasting that day off because if you're not working out, if you're not moving hard, you don't need fuel.
Yeah.
If the car is parked outside for 5 days, you don't need to pump gas on it. So it goes to the same, like that's my analogy. It goes the same thing to your body. If I'm not working out today, I don't need to eat.
Yeah.
But that's a problem.
Well, that what you just said right there is really important because that's really how we're supposed to be operating. Like I like fruit. I think fruit's amazing if it's grown right and grown with intention and it's not some monocrop GMO fruit and hybridized fruit. But I don't sit around and eat fruit all day long, right? I'll have fruit like a ninja with strategy. Like for example, if I'm about to go do a 2-hour HIIT training with weights and movement and all that kind of stuff, I'm probably not going to go there with my glycogen storage is gone. I'm not going to be in a fasted state. I'm going to eat maybe half a kiwi with a little bit of protein and stuff like that just to kickstart some glucose and some insulin. That's purposeful eating fruit. If I crush it for 2 hours, I might eat a little bit of fruit out there to after the workout just to bring my levels back and to flood my cells with nutrients that creates a little bit of that insulin response. It's being strategic with food. Food is not there just to be eaten. Food's there is meant for our intention. And that's, again, it goes back to where we are today with pressing a button, right? We're just so accustomed to having everything there with the press of a button. The convenience is actually really killing us. It's the Trojan horse of technology. Let's make everything convenient. Let's bring a level of security and safety to you. All of those things are dismantling our intuition. And what I noticed about you, I pick up on you, is that you're very intuitive. And that's a real powerful, that's a superpower. If you're listening to this, your intuition, it could be your gut instincts, it could be what you know about yourself, is so key. All the magi, we call them the magi. These are the Persian mystics, the occult masters. These are people that are running on a higher frequency, that have studied the magic of our world. I actually just got back from Egypt. I slept in the king's chamber in the sarcophagus with one of the most famous cryptographers in the world, one of my best friends, and we were tapping into some real crazy stuff. It was unreal. This level of connection to spirit and body and the physical and the alchemy and all that kind of stuff, at the root of it is intuition. And that's the whole thing. Again, I always go back to Rudolf Steiner. Steiner is like, we can't teach kids or enforce them a curriculum when they're 5 years old or they're 6 years old. They're just coming into their body. What we can do is teach them how to communicate and let them use direct observation to come up with their own conclusions. We can't get in between the way they think, because if we start getting in between the way they think, then we're suppressing their intuitive self. And if you look at I don't know if you saw that video, it went viral, that I did, lack of a better term. I was asked in an interview what I thought about the school system. And I'm like, the school system is destroying the unique adaptability and intuitive power of children, putting them into a fluorescent light classroom at age 8, studying some nonsense. Like the way we teach mathematics, the way that we teach history, the way that we teach literature is all truncated out into some bullshit. It's a terrible system.
They're not learning
They're not.
life skills. They're not learning how to, like you say, how to communicate, how to do something, how to like grow a plant, how to put a seed on the ground. They're just like, this is what you need to do, and if you don't do it, you're gonna do bad.
Yeah, it's a pressure, it's a fear, it's competition, and it's regurgitated drivel, which they need to memorize. I remember, I briefly was in some state-sponsored schools. I remember, like, okay, I would just study the night before, and I would ace the test,
Memorize.
and then 3 days later, I couldn't get it all because I had no heart in it. I wasn't evolving with it.
I applied memorize 2 hours before.
Yeah,
10 questions, cool. 2 days later, I don't know, and maybe every teacher I had, besides my English teacher, that's why I speak English, because my English teacher was pretty good, and he never told me what the rest of the teachers told me. They were like, "You're gonna do wrong. You're gonna pick the wrong path. You're crazy." And I'm like, I look back now, I'm like, I was the one that took the best decision. Or no, listen, none of you fucking morons.
exactly.
Because they were like, just like, if you don't, if your numbers are not here, you will never make it. And most of the kids that were like perfect cars, like 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, like over 20, right? Because in Ecuador we go over 20, not over 100, like here. And like, I was just like, I missed a few years. I got kicked out of school, and I was like, when I look back out of every single one, I'm the only one that made it on something that I love it. Maybe I lose touch with a lot of them, but with the ones that I'm still in touch, sometimes they ask me like, "What happened to you?" I'm like, I just follow my heart, and I say, "Fuck the system. I don't care about going to college, or sitting on a chair, or going to a job that someone will oppress me my whole life and told me you're not gonna make it."
Hallelujah. Thank God. And how many kids today are in that frequency where they're just suppressed and they're in fear and they're being pressurized and they hate being there at age 10? Like, can you imagine a 10-year-old hates to be sitting in a little desk learning from an uninspired teacher, and it's not the teacher's fault. I have compassion for
it's the system
it's
that
the
they have. They
system.
gotta follow the rule.
The system is fucked up. The system is so backwards, and I don't think it just randomly got here. I think this was implemented just like our economic system and our medical system and our food system,
It's evil.
our policy systems. I mean, it has basically boxed us up, and you've now conditioned the human being to be the sheep, and now the sheep herder is actually the sheep because they're all taking care of themselves. And then you have problem, reaction, solution. They create a problem, there's a reaction, and they provide the solution to the problem they created. This is tried and tested for thousands of years. This goes back way into the Babylon days. This is where we're at. So I don't want this to be a doom and gloom show. I
No,
think
but it's true.
This is true.
I agree with that. It's like,
Yeah.
it's like, hey, a virus came, we all fuck. Oh, put this injection in your shoulder, you will live. And then if you don't do it, you're a bad person, and the world goes to shit. And it's just over. It just keeps happening, and it's just his story repeats again and repeats again. And everything we learn is looking backwards. This happened on this year, that happened on that year, and then we're in this year, and it's happening again. And then you never get off the box. You never.
Yeah.
And most people don't have the guts or the balls to be like, you know what, fuck everything. I'm gonna live my life. That's what, like, don't get into politics. I mean, I'm not defending left or right. I'm not defending the middle, but I got friends that they go so hard on this side, and all they do is hate on the other side. I'm like, are you living your life at least? Because you're not gonna change, even if you know every single conspiracy. And let's say you're right, and everybody's wearing a mask, and there's chips in our brains. Let's believe that you're right. You're still so focused on those problems that you won't solve, that you will never live or do something good for yourself. So might as well just be like, fuck everything and just follow the right path.
I'm with you. I think the divide and conquer strategy is critical to the foundation of this system. The system has to separate, and it has to create that conflict, and it has to be dualistic, where it's either this or that, black and white. There's no trinity. There's no balance. There's no Christ. The Christ is actually the balance between the ethereal and the material. That is the Christ incarnation, if you really get into what Christ represented. And that's how I follow my life, is finding balance in between. And I love what you said is, you can put yourself through all of this pain and suffering, self-inflicted. At the end of the day, you're trying to break free of it, but you're not breaking free of it because you're caught up in the storm, and you perpetuate that cycle. What you resist, you persist. That's a known Eastern philosophy. And so I think what we're talking about, detoxification, getting more present, surrounding yourself with people that inspire you, looking at yourself in the mirror as well and saying, how am I inspiring other people? Being a better version of yourself every single day. Part of the practice that I have is a Rosicrucian practice, which is an occult practice that every night before I go to sleep, I do a reconciliation of my day. I really look at my day and investigate it. How did my day go? What were my experiences? How did my interactions with people go? Were there moments where I was upset and angry and irritated? Were there moments where I was in joy and bliss and happiness and in love? Were there moments that I wanted to escape and just not think about something? Did I procrastinate something that I know I should probably get done? What caused all those things? What was my motive behind those things? And so I practice this. I don't do it every night, but this is something that I try to do at least a couple nights a week. It takes discipline, but discipline is the greatest act of self-love, right? How you do anything is how you do everything. And so can you imagine, 50% of the population over the next 90 days spent 15 minutes before going to sleep every night and really evaluating how their day went, how they showed up for people, where they fucked up, where they robbed themselves of something of gold, where they saw synchronicities and pushed the synchronicities away and just forgot about it. Life opens up opportunities when you start recycling it back into your consciousness. It won't happen to you. We're almost cycling ourselves into a victim mentality or scarcity or lack of mentality. Somebody's coming to save me. It's the government's fault. It's my teacher's fault. It's my husband's fault. It's my wife's fault. It's this. No. Yeah. It's totally inward, and you have the opportunity to break free of that jail cell. Your heaven and hell is here. It's not like, oh, I'm going to ascend over here or I'm going to go here. No. This is your experience right now and what you make of it.
And you got to break the chains. I mean,
yeah.
In order to live, you have to die. It sounds silly, but you have to let go of everything and just find good. And what you say, like, how I'm elevating others, like, how's your circle? If someone in your circle is just dragging and it's always negative, shouldn't be in your circle. It's okay to help someone. It's good to help someone. It will bring you joy. It will bring the full circle back. But if that person doesn't want to advance, if that person doesn't want to advance or be happy or keep going, you have to let go of that person, because that person is an anchor, and anchors will never go up. You let the anchor of the boat go, they will bring you down with you. At some point that your help is not impacting them to move, it's over.
I agree, and it's not that person's fault. It's your fault.
It's your fault.
Because most people actually don't know how they're operating. They're unconscious, and so they're in some type of vampiric or parasitic energy, and because their lack of worth is almost obliterated, or they feel that they're in some type of scarcity, that they naturally have developed a conscious where they just want to take from people. And it's not taking money or taking food or taking
energy.
It's energy, right? And they're siphoning that energy just to feel good about themselves. I mean, look at the chaos culture of social media and news system. It's all about fear, breakdown in relationships, gossip, envy, jealousy, hate. All of these are lower dimensional energies, and they're escapism behavior. Because if you're not doing the work, and you're eating like shit, and your output's 5% of what you should be doing, you know this. Most people know this. They know it inside, whether they're denying it in their frontal conscious. They know it.
You can lie to yourself. You know.
Yeah, you know.
Every wrong step, every bad decision, even if you tell others like, "Oh yeah, that was my bad. I didn't realize." You know when you're doing wrong.
You know it.
You just don't want to take actions, and we go back to discipline. You just let go yourself.
Which is why they want to see other people fail. It helps them. It keeps them sane. That's the world we're in right now. And this world, it can't evolve. It's only dropping deeper and deeper and deeper as this realm gets more crowded and more sick. And this came up the other day. I was in a deep journey, and I started crying I couldn't stop crying, and I couldn't figure out why I was crying. And then it hit me. I was really thinking about the elderly. I had this like this just gnawing at my soul, like of I felt so alone, as if I was some, dispatched parent or grandparent that no one thought about, and is alone in their world, alone in their life. Their wife or whoever is gone, and they're alone, and they're sick, and they're confused. They're losing their memory. They're in an elderly care home. They're in a memory care facility. And I was just thinking, like, how the fuck did we get here? How did we get here as a humanity, as a society? In my culture, the parents, the grandparents, we're all together since forever.
And they're taken care of.
They're taken care of, and they're revered. It's like they're the part of the village that we bow to
Because of them, we're here.
because of them.
They did something good in order to, at least I'm talking my personal life. There's a reason I'm doing well. There's my reason my dad is healthy, is still alive, and that goes to the grandparents. That goes to the parents of them, and like in my culture too. My dad, my aunt, they take care of my grandparents. My mom, her side, they take care of the grandparents. Like we all get together. It's not like I will talk about specific in the U.S. A parent get older, go to a elderly house, which people get paid there to just barely have you there. They don't want to be there with you. They're not happy. I'm pretty sure there's some people that work there that are happy to help an elder and they feel good about their job, but most of them, they're just like, fuck, I gotta come here. Fuck this old man.
It's crazy.
And he's sick. It's fucked up.
It's sick.
If I think about it, my dad is 60. In probably 10, 20 years, he's gonna not be able to like do what he does now, like goes every day to the farm, drive his car, work. I don't see myself do not taking care of him. Like I'm trying to make the most I can, so I take care of my child, my wife. But in the back of my head, I have a mission. When he's not able to do it anymore, I'll be there for him the same way he was there for my grandfather, because I saw how he helped my grandfather and help with bills and help with health, and oh, you need something, go visit. Like people don't visit them anymore. It's like, and you gotta do that with your friends, with your loved ones, with the people that help you. If someone were there for you one time, you gotta be there for the rest of them as much as always, because that's how you uplift people. That's how if they feel love, they're gonna get love. Like how can you expect love if you don't give love? You have to give love, because again, everything circles around everything, and if everything is negativity, you're gonna be on a pool that is just drag you down. If the most part is positive and you're trying to advance and you're trying just to give love, what do you think is gonna come to you? Nothing but good.
No, I love hearing that. I mean, that's the golden rule. The reverence pours out from your heart. It comes back tenfold. We know that it's circulating. It runs on the geometry of life. All the different hermetic geometries. Actually, if you look at how sacred geometry works, it's built on the principle of the opposite of entropy, which is a syntropic energy. In order for things to flow, it has to be in symbiosis. That's how I came up with the name Cymbiotika, because it's all things coming together to create balance and harmony. And I think the fact that you have that in your plan and in your heart about your father, and you're thinking about it, that is creating value in your life. And that energy transcribes down into your children, right? Because it's passed on through, this type of ritual. My dad was my best friend. He was my brother. He was actually my mother in ways, very nurturing man. And when my father got sick, I shut my entire world down. I cut everything down for 6-7 years. I had him with me fighting his cancer. I made it was my mission. I didn't have nothing else mattered. I couldn't comprehend not being part of that mission to the very end, till he took his last breath in my hands. And that was a ritual in itself. And what that experience has done for me, the epigenetic change, the evolution of my karma and my soul, is part of my story.
It's nothing but good. It just make you just better, and not just better in terms of like material life and life, but when the soul it's full and happy, you can really go through anything, you can really do anything. But we have lost that in the years of like that taking care of yourself. Everything started with taking care of yourself. You cannot like be thinking about, I want to look good, I want a designer clothes, I want a piece of jewelry. All that is just a cloud. It's almost like something that is nothing.
It's a veneer.
Yeah.
It's a veneer. And I want people to really feel that. We're living in a veneer right now. We're just putting a shiny, subjective cap just to have a little bit element of, perception.
Right.
But right under that cap is a rotting cavitation. The gum's infected. The tooth is decayed. There's rotting pus and bacteria and
It's
parasites. It's a mask. And what's interesting is that the ancient mystics of the Tibetan Book of the Dead and the Egyptian Book of the Dead, those philosophies which I strongly connect with, they talk about something called samadhi, which is the practice of dying before dying. It's a ritual. I've gone through samadhi multiple times in my life through ceremony and medicine. I've actually walked through some UFC guys in that, and one of the most famous boxers in the world. I've took him through those things, and I realized when I was culminating out of this medicine that we're really walking around with masks on, and we perceive ourselves based on how we perceive others perceiving us. So we literally are projecting in an illusionary state because of what we think how we're looked upon.
And that's the thing that doesn't matter the most. Is doesn't matter how everybody looks. Is everything comes from inside.
Yeah.
If I feel good with myself, if I'm okay with my life, if I feel I'm going the right direction, the crowd doesn't matter. It's not for the crowd. I'm doing it for myself.
Yeah.
They get to see it later, but I'm not. My intention is not to please the crowd. The crowd comes at the end. I'm doing it for myself, for my kids, so they can see something good in me. So when they get the chance to grow up and go out in the world, it's up to them.
Yep.
I can tell them what I think is good.
Yep.
But I cannot force good on no one. And my dad did the same thing. I didn't grow up with a dad like, the typical when you see in a movie that the dad comes to your bed and tell you you're gonna be Superman. It was just intuition. I just figured it out. Follow good, and good will come to you, and work hard, because you cannot skip that part. A lot of people wish today. They wish they have this car. They wish they have this house. They wish they have this status. Fucking work for it.
Yeah.
You want all that? Work your ass off.
But why do they want that? That's the problem.
What you say.
Yeah.
The perception of
what's
others.
the intention? It's the perception of others.
It's like, that's cool, you got that. If I get something, it's just because I genuinely love it, or
Right.
I grew up thinking I want that when I grew up.
We'll call the term for homes and lifestyle, which I'm not against abundance.
Do your thing.
Abundance is great, but what's the intention behind it? Like, for example, if you're chasing money for recognition, you're never going to make money.
You'll never get
You'll
it.
never get it. If you're chasing what you love to do and you're inspired by it, the side effect of that is money.
Will be money.
If you're chasing to have aesthetics and looks and physique, it's going to be an uphill battle. If you're chasing to be the healthiest version of you, the side effect of that is all the things that you want. It's really the law of inertia in this world. And so that's a good thing for someone to meditate on today. If you're listening to this, is like, what's your why? What's your intention behind it? Like, really,
Find that.
and be honest with yourself. Like, look yourself in the mirror for maybe 6 hours straight. Just dead in your eyes. Say, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to stare at myself in the mirror, and I'm going to ask myself psychically these questions. As I'm staring at myself in the mirror, in the eye, what's really coming up for me? And write that stuff down. And spend a couple days reviewing what you wrote down.
And when you peel that, it's gonna reveal the same, except because it's who you are. You're not gonna change it.
Yep.
You can put anything in the outside, and you still being you. And if you don't love who you are, that's a problem that you have yourself, because we all have the same amount of chances on doing good. It's just what you say. If you don't have your why and you don't really know yourself, everything you're chasing is almost like having like a fish, how you call it,
Like a fish line or a hook?
with whatever you want in front
Yep.
of you.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter how fast you run. you will never get to that. It's
Yeah.
like
You're on a hamster wheel.
You're
Yeah.
exactly. You're chasing
Yeah.
your own shadow. You will
Yeah.
never beat it.
Yeah.
And,
And that's a prison. You're in prison.
you are in
You're
prison.
literally in a mental prison. And that's why people, eventually snap and they do heinous crimes, or they're constantly drinking alcohol and escaping through alcoholism, or they're on whatever, you know what I mean? Or they're addicted to food or addicted to drama and all the things.
And they always keep saying, I don't see the change. I don't see this happening. I really want this.
Yeah.
But what you say, stare in the mirror and it will reveal all the answers, because you cannot lie to yourself. You can tell everybody. I can go in a run and tell you everything. I can sound motivational. I can sound great, but I know my own truth. I know exactly if I was just bullshitting just to look apart in the moment, or that's really me.
Yep.
That's what I tell people. What you see out there, I have only one me. Either you like it or not, whatever comes out, that's what you're gonna get out of me, because that's who I am.
That's what we need. We need more originality. There's also a perspective that not everyone is supposed to get this, right? And it's really interesting when you think about it. I used to really oppose Charles Darwin's perspective of evolution, survival of the fittest. I was completely against that notion pretty much throughout my adolescence and into my early 20s. Now I'm starting to recognize survival of the fittest is deeper than how it was first came across me. Being able-bodied in your mind, in your soul, in your heart, that's the fittest. And we're definitely in the time of survival of the fittest. And I don't think everyone is supposed to get it. That's there's a beauty to this, because it's a tragic story. We're humans and we've incarnated here for, Rumi said, our time here, Rumi is our great grandpa. And he said that our lifespan, our time in this is a drop in the ocean of time. It's that. It's really, when you look at the time frame,
It's not
80, 100, 120 years is nothing, right? And so that's tragic in a way, but it's beautiful, because we're not gods in that sense. We're mortal. And that's something about that makes it so beautiful. And I also think that we're also karmic cycling. So I believe in some form of reincarnation. That's just kind of my philosophy. And I think there's been evidence to prove that. And I see that, not everyone is supposed to be in the cycle of making it. And if you're listening to our conversation, me and you, brother, this can either inspire you and activate you and turn you on, or you can be like, what the fuck are these guys talking about?
But it's true.
Yeah. And that's fine.
If 5 people get in a race,
yeah,
the 5 of them are not going to win.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that whoever was last cannot get disciplined and work towards win one day. But it's still, not everybody is able to win. And I can speak for experience. I don't win every single fight. It's impossible to never lose. But at the same time, I think myself, I can also take my time to heal, take my time to rebirth, and do better next time. And maybe go into another ramp of 5, 6, 7 win streak. But the thing about making it, it's not for everybody.
Yeah.
Because it's what are you able to sacrifice in order to make it. There's a lot of things that you have to let go. There's a lot of things that you have to avoid. There's a lot of things that you have to decline in order to make it one time.
I agree.
And to be able to be part of that 1% takes a lot. Takes a lifetime to figure it out and to make it. But like we've been saying for this past hour, everything comes from the inside. Is that what you really want, or that's what you just want to be part of? Because if you just want to be part of that, it will never come to you. The more you chase, the further it goes.
I agree with all of that. And I'd like to also add that, you don't need to have big nirvana moments. Small wins, like all of a sudden, you heard this conversation. Okay, I'm going to go get a shower filter. Okay, I'm going to start drinking spring water. Okay, I'm going to start taking some Cymbiotika supplements. Okay, I'm going to start, doing more movement. I'm not going to watch Netflix, 10 times a week. I'm going to start walking on the beach and getting sunlight on my body and grounding to the earth. I'm going to maybe stop this relationship. It's not really serving me. It's a little bit of chaos and it drains my energy. I'm going to maybe cut down on my, black coffee 5 times a day. I'm going to, whatever it is, It just little small wins start sharpening the blade. And once you start realizing that this is possible, then you start having something called momentum. And momentum can go in any direction. Momentum can activate you into the highest version of yourself because it's never too fucking late. Or momentum can take you down into the deeper dimensions of just the sloth life of miserable stagnation. And so I really advise, everyone start sharpening their blade, because I and Chito and our whole crew, we need humanity to be happy, healthy, thriving, and in their power.
It should be like that.
That's the biggest FU to a system of control
That is dragging us.
Yeah. It's not picketing. It's not whatever and fighting and talking shit. No, it's becoming the healthiest physiological beast
There's
you could
no
possibly
unity.
be.
There's no unity. And I get to tap in on a bunch of circles because of what I do, because one friend take me here, one friend take me there. And what I get to realize the most in the last few years is like, sometimes I'm in this one circle and everybody's like, oh, united and we're family, and then one person goes and the gossip starts. Oh, this person, this and that, and I'm the first one that goes like, yo, yes, wait a minute. That he or she was here for 5 hours. If you have a problem with that person, either pull them aside and tell them what you believe is wrong and have a conversation.
Yeah.
Don't wait till that person leave and try to talk about the problems that you think they have or whatever you don't like, because now it just becomes a murmuring and like it's all negativity. Then the person's come back, oh, we're family. I'm personally, if I have a problem with you, I let you know and I distance myself from you because I don't believe it's good for either of us. But the thing that we have to stop is do not judge. Practicing not judging is something that I love.
What's the opposite of judgment? Do you know?
Tell me.
Discernment. Okay, so this is really powerful. This is probably a good way to take this into the next level, wherever this is going. Is judgment's based on fear and anger and resentment, right? It's not having your own solid experience. It's just immediately being compulsive and reacting, for the most part, if you define it. Discernment means that you've evaluated deeply every nuance of the experience. You had an internal hypothesis, and through your own scientific method of evaluation, you've come up with a conclusion based on the information gathered, whether it's your intuitive self, it's your optics, it's the smell, receiving, the experience, all that. So instead of jumping to some formal reaction, instead of jumping to a conclusion, which is in itself rapid compulsive behavior, you've actually spent some time with it. For example, someone is listening to our interview, and I've said some stuff that they probably have never heard of. Maybe they have. Don't take my word for it. Practice discernment. That's how I live my life. That's how I teach. I remember we talk about polarity. This is going to kill you. If you don't do this, you're going to die. If you don't do this, you're an idiot. That's extreme polarity. And that's scaring people and shocking them and putting them into a fight, flight, hide state. And when you're in a fight, flight, hide state, you think that you need a solution. Give me the solution.
You're condensing your own.
You're contracted. And it's just like fighting, right? Like you can't go into a ring contracted. You're done.
You got to go free. You got to go with a smile on your face.
Totally.
You got to be fully loose and relaxed.
Yes.
And that's what I do love about my fighting style. Win or lose, I'm in there just chilling. Like, not chilling in a way like I don't want to fight, but I'm like so relaxed in there that I'm like, I already did the work.
Yeah.
Whatever happened, it is part of my hands because I have to step in the gas at some point and try my hardest, but also that's just on the universe, on God. We don't know what's going to happen. I just get in there. I put myself in there just to see how far it can go.
Yeah.
But like taking a few steps back to the judgment, it's like you have to, before you just vomit everything you think about someone, analyze it. Maybe you are the problem.
Yeah.
Maybe you're the one that are causing all those things in your mind. And there's nothing worse than assume or like, oh, they look me weird or there's a problem. I'm like, go and ask.
That's all trauma.
Have a conversation.
Yeah, like road rage, for example, right? So you're ready to kill someone because they cut in front of you, right? And I can understand because people's driving today is so bad that it's like, how did we get to this level of driving? But it has nothing to do with the person who cut you off. it's your own trauma. You're the person that you want to fight or scream at or kill. That's pent up anger and frustration from something that's
yourself.
sitting. Yeah, that's
You're
something
not
that's
doing well
happened.
in life. You're not happy
All
with
of
your
it.
own. Someone called you. You're dead. Pull over. Get off the car.
Yeah.
For everybody listening, that's the worst thing you can do.
Worst thing you can do. You're ready to throw your entire life away because of someone you don't know that just cost you a second of time. Right?
And that you don't know if that person is armed. You don't know if that person is like a legit like professional that is willing to like, oh, you want to square up,
or
and you're in for a
or if that
time.
person's parent just died, or if that person, you know what I mean? We don't know what's happening
in the other side.
Yeah,
and that's what you automatically in a way you have a compassion. Or they cut you off. They can be driving crazy to the bed because their dog is dying, or their sibling or daughter or son is having a really bad accident. They gotta rush there.
Or they're miserable, or they're a miserable person too.
Yeah, or that too.
And you just have to have compassion. I see that, and I can feel that. Just driving in Southern California, I can see people that are so tunnel vision. They're wired. They're in stress, and I'm just like, dude, just
take a step back. Let them go.
Yeah, that's a master. That's being a master.
You just go like this. Yeah. Just step in the brake a little bit. Let that person advance, and then you can just go, and you can pass them, do whatever, but don't react right away.
The false ego reacts, right? I think ego, the whole Eastern part where, dissolve the ego, feed the soul. I don't believe in that. I actually believe a little bit in the Western approach mixed with the Eastern. We need to have a healthy ego. A healthy ego means that you are of value in this life. I'm going to become a best fighter. Yeah, I'm going to drive through. I'm inspired. I'm going to move. But I'm not going to operate in the false ego, which is the scar tissues and wounds that I've never really worked with. Right. And I've just gathered from my entire childhood and then adolescence. And it's just sitting there, and it's turned me into this compulsive, judgmental character who's ready to fire off anything and that you can't even communicate with. That's the false ego. And that's part of the practices that we do to get into the psyche, to spend time alone, to go into the jungles with the shamans. These things aren't, we don't do that to escape. We do that actually to go inwards and scrape off a lot of that stuff.
To clean the dirt inside.
Yeah.
To like open the path, to have a clearer vision. Is like, I love those things. Like those are one of the things that I actually want to do, or start doing it more often. Like, but doing it right, not for fun. I really want to see inside in order to have a better perspective outside, because you will never have a clear vision if everything is foggy and blurry inside.
Yeah.
And you know that. You know when you're lost. Now it's time to figure it out. Yeah. The clear path.
Yeah, no. When your soul's calling you, it's time.
You gotta go.
And all of this is the most intentional decision and pathway to make. And I've been in that realm for at least 12, 13 years now, and I've walked a lot of people through the process. I don't do it anymore as much, just because of my lifestyle right now, but I have the deepest reverence for that realm. I won't get into details here, but there are materials and substances and alchemies out there that take you close to the edge and put you into a state where, you have to come clear. You have to come clean with your soul. And it's a great opportunity for certain people that are on the path that have made the choice to do so. And then following a ceremony, for example, the integrative work is just as important, if not more important, than the actual trip, because that is where the magic really starts to occur. Is how do you practice, a lot of the dissolving into your everyday life, where you can really start implementing the things that you're letting go and creating more space for other things to thrive. And it's been such an honor to be part of that with so many, beautiful souls. And I've seen them evolve literally in front of my eyes, including myself, because it's, and that's another thing. There's no line to get to. There's no finish line. It's chop wood.
There's no ceiling.
There's no ceiling. It's chop wood. You carry water, then you become enlightened, and then you go to sleep, and then you wake up. What do? You chop wood. You carry water, and you become enlightened. It's an everyday experience.
It's not like, oh, I did well for the first 2 days of the week, now I can go off the rail.
No.
Yeah. Every day.
Yeah.
and eventually you will find peace and happiness. But you cannot work anything just few times. You
Yep.
gotta work until you're done, until you die. And when I say work, it's not just a physical work or going to your office, but working yourself,
Yep.
one foot in front of the other, and just be happy. Just be happy, be present, and really that comes back to like what you said earlier, talking about routine.
Yep.
How's your routine?
My routine, that's maybe that is the most asked question that I get. What's your routine like? What do you do? Well, I can't tell if it starts at night or if it starts on the rise because they all work directly with each other. But I'm big on sleep. I think sleep is beyond just a reparative time. It's an experience to go into another realm. I think the dream state and the lucidity state of dreams, the theta and the delta sleep cycles, are just as important as the waking thing. It's like inception, right? It's a dream within a dream because this is somewhat of a dream. We're having a projection right now.
We're in a simulation.
We're in a simulation. It's holographic for sure. If you understand quantum entanglement and light and receiving information and all that stuff. So I'm a big sleep guy, meaning like I have a sleep ritual. My bedroom is just a bedroom for sleep. It's not a bedroom for other living things. I have a mantle and I have some ceremonial stuff in there, but it's just for sleep. It's pitch dark. There's nothing in there, not even a small little blinking electronic light, nothing. You can't see a foot in front of you. It's about 65 degrees Fahrenheit in the room. I'm usually in bed by, and this is on average. Of course, there's other times, but on average, I'm in bed by 10:15. I'm not subjugating my brain and body to blue light activity past 7:30, 8 o'clock. So in my house, I have no LED lights. I just have fire and incandescent bulbs in my home. If the TV's on, we have a red factor on it, which druns out the blue light. I do have blue blockers like I'm wearing right now. And I'm not eating any food past 6:30. My biggest meal on my day is early in the day when my enzymes are at the highest peak. I don't want to be fasted till 2, 3 p.m. and then eat a meal. I don't want any food in my stomach while I'm sleeping because sleeping is the detoxification time. Your body goes through a 12-stage detox system as you go to sleep. It starts in your liver, gallbladder, kidneys, heart, brain, out the lungs. It's a whole thing. That's why you wake up with film in your eyes and crust in your eyes and film on your tongue. That's because your body's cleansing throughout the night. If you have a full belly while you go to sleep, then you're not detoxing at all. And all that metabolic waste is adding
You're
up.
not resting.
You're not resting at all. You're not able to actually go into a deep level of deep sleep. And there's I wear this ring right here. I'm big on HRV. HRV is heart rate variability. It's a measurement of the variability between heartbeats. And usually you would think that the variability being low means a good thing. It doesn't. In fact, the more variable between heartbeats, meaning the different ranges of how the heart beats, if it's just a microsecond off, that means your HRV is going higher and higher. The higher HRV you have, the deeper sleep you're getting and the more regenerative sleep that you're getting. And that means that you're deep in a parasympathetic state. So I'm big on sleep hygiene. I'm big on, nasal passageway and mouth taping. I open up my nasal passageway with an intake device. I tape my mouth, pitch dark room. I'm not drinking fluids past 7:30, 8 o'clock. So I'm not being disturbed by having to wake up and take a piss at 4 a.m. I'm sleeping probably about 7 hours. I wake up with the sunrise, no alarm. The sunrise eventually makes its way in through, and I immediately get out on the earth. I live on a south-facing plain or cliff, so I get out on the land butt naked every day, feet on the earth, and I let Father Sun activate every biological process in my body through photobiomodulation. This gets into my eyes, it gets onto my skin. This is when my body starts moving things, activating things, and producing and manufacturing neurotransmitters such as melatonin. Melatonin is only produced through sunlight, and we need that to go to sleep eventually at night. I'm hydrating with 30 ounces of spring water with a little bit of sea salt that I put under my tongue, maybe a half teaspoon, and molecular hydrogen. And then I move. I'm moving around. I'm getting once you're horizontal all night and you get vertical, you got to move that body. You got to flush. You got to hydrate. You got to move things. So I'm running down the hill. I move up. I just get a little sweat going. And then I come back into the house. And then from there, I have my Shilajit. And I make it a tea. It's a ritual for me. I have music playing too. I have 432 hertz, like prayer music or really vibey acoustic music. 432 is, the healing frequency. It's a perfect frequency. And binaural beats. It just gets me kind of going. I have busy, I call them risings. I have busy risings with my work schedule and what I'm doing with Cymbiotika. So I'm on calls. So this is around, 6:30 a.m., 6:45 a.m. And I also just kind of have a little bit of gratitude prayer. I thank God, and I thank my family and my ancestors and my lineage and all the people in my life that bring value to my life. And, just people that are in their authentic expression. I really impress upon myself the gratitude that I have. And then I'll make, maybe a matcha latte. I do a little bit of raw cream. I saw that you're into raw milk. Yeah, do not drink homogenized pasteurized milk. It's complete toxin.
Shit.
The reason why you can't drink homogenized pasteurized milk is because it killed all the enzymes in there, and without the enzymes, you can't absorb the minerals. So now you're just having a toxic sugar soup with no absorption.
Might as well do a soda.
What's that?
Might as well do a soda.
Yeah. No, it's the same. But probably worse depending on the soda. Yeah, it's that's a whole thing. We could probably do a podcast just on raw dairy alone.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. No, it's part of my repertoire. So I do that with. Sometimes I'll make a latte. We have the best matcha ceremonial grade at Cymbiotika, and then probably I have an hour of calls, and then around 10 a.m. I'm having my largest meal of the day. I break my fast with the largest meal of the day if I'm eating that day.
Right.
And that sets me up for success throughout the day. I'm training, I'm doing about 15,000 steps a day. That's my average. Sometimes it's more, sometimes it's 12,000. I'm doing a lot of sprinting, a lot of high intensity interval training. I swim in the ocean all the time. I jump in the ocean. I love saunas. I love cold plunging. I love inversions. I love hanging upside down. There's something about getting your feet above your head. I love postural exercises, functional movement. I'm really big on like your gait and how you're moving and all those things. So it's not just about like lifting weights and getting strong. It's really about that.
Going back to the primal.
Primal, yeah. I was in Ibiza. I did a retreat in Ibiza in October, and with the most famous primal guy in the world. He's incredible. He came to our retreat and we did primal the whole time. I was literally running around like a wild monkey the whole time. It was awesome. And that created like receptors in my mind, proteoreceptor sites, where I was like activating new thoughts and new emotions, because the mind body connection's real. And I wasn't doing those things, and now that I was doing it, all of a sudden, like I had ideas that I haven't thought about that was stored somewhere, and
opens up the mind,
the circuitry. I'm grounded to the earth. Again, I have Wi-Fi on at a certain time at my house, and then I turn it off. It's on a kill switch. These are, it's just, there's fundamentals here.
And it's just little things that will change you. Like that's what I'm glad I asked you, because I wanna also know if I'm doing right, and there's other things I can learn from. But I'm pretty much doing the same exact thing in ways of like pitch black. I'm trying to don't watch TV on a certain time. Kill it. Put my red sunglasses past 6 p.m. and things like that. And when you wake up, first things first, do not check your phone first things first.
Yeah.
I check my phone after I go outside in the patio. I go in my underwear, I go naked. There's too many kids around. And sometimes I roll from my bed straight to the ice bath. I don't even, because it's so challenging that you're like, fuck, I don't want to, because a lot of people say, oh, you're used to it, you're good at it. I'm not good at it. Feels like the first time every time.
That's right.
And sometimes I wake up and I literally just, the moment I open my eyes, also I don't use alarm. Whenever my kids wake me up, whenever the sun wakes me up, I'm getting up. But also do not stay in bed. I never stay in bed. I open my eyes, I get up.
Good.
And sometimes I either walk in the grass or I roll it straight to the ice bath. And God, that's painful. It's the worst. I get anxiety. my bowel movements are like I want to take. Sometimes I want to take a shit before the ice because I'm so like, oh, I don't want to do this, and I go like, you're doing it. Open the lid, no thought process, just get in.
Good for you, man.
And I just count. I count them on my head until 200 or whatever feels like 3 minutes, and I go, okay, I'm good. But
that you're building a very strong faculty, by doing such. I know that every time it's the same thing, right? Because cold plunge at that time.
Heavy.
It doesn't get easier, but what you're doing is you're building this like really power band with you that can't snap, and that helps with moments of stress, right? And we talked about like someone cutting you off on the street. If you're jumping in a cold plunge every day when you don't want to do it but you're doing it anyways, the chances of you like snapping and getting angry,
it's not happening.
Especially someone like you, you're a trained killer. Like that's what you are. You're a lethal weapon, right? To a certain degree.
And I don't snap.
But you don't
so
snap
hard.
because you're building these epigenetic systems within your body to deal with how to deal with pressure and stress and survival.
And going back what we said earlier, everybody's on shock today. Everybody's like follow the trend, or like the only shock that you should put your body into it is the sauna or the cold plunge.
Yep.
The system shock or pandemic shock, all that shock, but you gotta build that. Start with a cold shower. Start doing something that you don't like. You don't like to run? Go run, because if you run, you're gonna get stronger. You don't like to lift weights, you think you're weak, you can start with a 5 pound, and slowly but surely, before you know, the results will be there.
I love it. It's like when you plant a seed, you don't just plant the seed. You have to nurture it, you have to water it, you have to make sure the nitrogen's right, you have to fertilize it with the right stuff, not just weird stuff. You got to make sure all the biotics are there, and once it starts to sprout and starts to grow, then you start taking care of it more. As you start taking care of it more, all of a sudden it starts to build momentum, it starts to build strength to the point where, maybe a year later, 2 years later, depending on the variety, it starts to fruit. You know what I mean? It's the same thing. Like,
that's how you treat yourself.
That's how you treat yourself.
That's how you treat yourself, and that's the same water you pour into grow your kids. It's all love.
So at the end of the day, we're just seeds. Look at yourself as a fruit tree. Maybe you think of your favorite fruit. I like cacao. I like sour sop, which is guanabana. That you might have that.
Yeah. I have a company in Ecuador, and we make guanabana juice.
Do you really?
It's delicious.
Dude, okay, you guys are coming to Kauai, and you got to see ours. I mean, they're like this big.
I love guanabana.
If you don't know what that is, it's the cousin to the cherimoya. It's like a cherimoya. It's part of the graviola family. It's just a sour version of it. Mangosteen. I don't know if you've ever had mangosteen or Relenia. These are Hawaiian fruits that.
I had mangosteen in Abu Dhabi.
I did.
In Abu Dhabi. The mangosteen is just like,
it was beautiful.
Extraordinary.
And I told him that when I ate that mango, which we don't have in the US, I was like, I eat the mango. And
the mangosteen is the purple one that has the white little things. Remember I gave you a little piece of
but that's the one that I told you that brought me to the memory of eating at my grandfather.
It looks like an octagon in there.
Yeah.
It has a little white like pit, and you peel it off, and it's like a gel. It's almost like a lychee almost material.
best fruit in the world.
Ever. It's chilled.
The tree takes like 10 years to mature.
That's right. Yeah. At least.
Yeah.
It's just, dude.
That's how.
All right, we gotta get on the islands, man.
Yeah.
Okay, I took Franco.
Oh really?
Oh my God, you should have saw Franco there.
Thanks for Franco. I get to meet you. So
yeah,
shout out to Franco. That's a good
right.
soul. Franco is a great soul.
Franco, he's one of the loves of my life.
He's good. He's good people.
I've known him since I was like 17 or 18, and we've gone through so much, and I've evolved with him, and I've seen him go through so much, and to see where he's at now, mind, body, and soul, and he's just an extraordinary human being.
My favorite part about, as a tattoo artist, is of course one of the best in the world, but to me the best experience out of it is a conversation that we have while I'm getting tattooed, and that's why I don't do small tattoos with him. We go big, and it's 7 hours of just talking good.
He did all this.
That's amazing. I gotta go finish my stomach. I'm just the pain. The pain is
that's
heavy.
an intense pain over there.
It is intense, but
we should all do a conversation. He told me, he's like, hey, what do you think about we do like a 3-way podcast with Chito, I'm like, yeah, I'm all in for that.
When he came, I'm like, dude, and same with you. I'm having the same conversation. I was like, it's so easy going in a way. Like, I'm like, Franco, you should be my co-host. He's like, name it. But now the three of us, we should meet once a week and just talk.
I know. We can get into everything out there. I'm all for it. I love talking to you because you and I have the same origin energy. I can feel it from the ethos of how you were born and raised and the family and what you have as a high priority. And so that's why I'm here. I have tremendous respect for that.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah, I saw that the moment I met you, and then Franco has been telling me nothing but amazing things, and I've been witnessing you from what I can, and I'm just like, okay, he's a brother. So this is and your guy here is Persian, right? So
that's my boy right there.
And so he tried to steal my blue blockers.
That's
earlier.
the thing with him. He likes to put blue blockers up his ass sometimes.
Hey, different strokes for different folks, right?
Exactly.
But no, this was awesome.
Thanks for coming, bro.
I think this was a good start. This planted the seed, right?
A good seed.
So let's continue to nurture it.
We will.
I got your back in all things health and wellness times 10, whatever, and other things too.
Yeah.
My mind and heart span all areas. I'm actually I'm heading to Burning Man in a few days, and I'm going to be doing a couple talks there. It's going to be somewhat on the lines of what we're talking right now. I'm going to go a little bit deeper on some of the main issues that I'm seeing, and I'm going to come back really inspired. I can feel I'm going to have like a major breakthrough over there, and I'm just hyped that I have people like you in my reality in Southern California, crazy place, and I'm here to create more momentum.
That's the way to do it.
Yeah, we say inwards, onwards, and upwards.
All directions good.
That's right. Yeah. Keep crushing it.
You too, my brother.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Of course, brother. It's an honor.
Cheers.